Alrighty, it is 6 o'clock, well, 6:01, so we'll call this meeting to order. It's the meeting of the Birch Incorporation Association Steering Committee, Thursday, April 17th, 2025. And we will start off by just revisiting our statement of purpose here. The purpose of BBIA, this was adopted in November of 2023 by community members upstairs. Our purpose is to explore and, if found feasible, advocate for incorporation to give residents of Birch Bay more direct control over the future of their community. BBIA will accomplish this by, one, creating an inclusive, nonpartisan process to explore the creation through incorporation of a future city of Birch Bay, including but not limited to exploring proposed city boundaries, form of government, and classification of city. Two, promoting a feasibility study and community engagement, soliciting feedback and information sharing regarding the possibility of incorporating Birch Bay into a city. Three, serving as a liaison with the county, state, and matter review board, and should a feasibility study and sense of Birch Bay residents be positive, to advocate for and advance the incorporation process through a citizen initiative. And B, BBIA will not plan for, discern, or take positions on matters of future city policy, including land use, health and safety regulations, taxes. All right. So we will stop our share here. Back. Go through roll call. Matt Berry here. Lisa Guthrie is outside but coming back in. We have Sharman Burnham. Are you there online? Like it from Thailand. Thank you for joining us.
Hi.
Michael Steele. Jonathan Mallahan here. Jason Pulverari here. Patrick Alcey, not here yet. Yorkson Jean here. Caprice Pine
Here.
Michael Rutkowski, Jan Barnes, Lisa Black. Oh, where's Jan? Is online possibly. I'm going to try to promote you to panelist, Jan. All right, good. You're here. Thank you. Pauline Nefsey should be online too. She is also babysitting at the moment. Holly Hamilton.
Present.
Thank you. And Raymond Flavy. Alrighty. Wanted to start this meeting off so that with a little open session, public comment, if anybody had anything they wanted to share with the group or questions or anything like that. Happy to give you 3 minutes, just state your name and I guess where you're from, but oh, shoot, minutes. I skipped over minutes. Minutes were sent out earlier in the week and are posted online on our Google Drive publicly. Did everyone get a chance to get a look at them?
Yes, and I will move approval of the minutes. I'll second.
Alrighty, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Any opposed? Alrighty. All right, thank you for keeping us on track. Open session, public comment. Thank you all for coming. Would any of you like to address the group and the other community members here? There'll be opportunities for questions throughout also. No? Are you sure? Well, there'll be other opportunities. Moving along into the executive committee report. We have an exciting next meeting, the May quarterly meeting. And again, the way we work is we hold monthly meetings. Every 3 months, we do a more community information focused meeting. Not that there'll be tons of information shared at this one. But then the other meetings like these steering committee meetings are for preparing for the upcoming quarterly meetings too. So May 15th upstairs here at 6 o'clock, it's a Thursday, we'll have former city managers Bob Jean and Dave Wilbert joining us as guest speakers to talk about what it's like running a city. Bob Jean has experience managing cities immediately after incorporation, so he'll have a ton of great information, and there'll be an opportunity to ask some questions as well. So we're looking forward to that. Really pleased with the work that the communications committee is doing, the work that the research and feasibility committee is doing, and then the fundraising and whatnot that the finance committee is doing. But I think that we're going to come into that meeting with a lot of good data, and I think it'll be appreciated and allow us to have a real productive conversation. We started to reach out to different service providers and stakeholders. We're hoping to have the fire department, parks, library, and others at upcoming meetings. So we're starting to fill up the rest of the year's schedule. And I think it's going to be a good year, and we'll have a lot of information shared and answer a lot of questions there. We've also been talking about hosting a more fun kind of informal meeting for our August quarterly meeting. So that would be, I think it's August 17th or 18th, but the weather will be nice. Nobody's going to want to be inside sitting at a table. So we have a reservation for the Heron Center. And I just wanted to put that out to the group that if we want to hold our next meeting at the Heron, or our August quarterly meeting at the Heron Center, then we've got that. We could do some hot dogs and print up all of our sound bites that we've been putting together and all that. It could be a good thing. So
We need to serve crab.
we need to serve crab.
Are you here volunteering to?
I'll bring some, yeah. That's like opening day is like the day before.
Yeah.
Reasonable confidence, yeah.
Crab possible.
Yeah.
Tentative,
Yeah.
no, we'll share. That would be awesome though, if we could do some crab. It'd certainly get people there. I wanted to talk about the logic model. Holly's been really helpful in helping us put together a formal logic model. Last year, we had gone over one and tried to put together kind of a path or a timeline of here are the exact objectives we're going to try to achieve before, say the end of this year. It's tough because it's such a complicated process and there's a lot of unknowns and whatnot, but I think it's starting to come together where we'll be able to have more of a plan for the rest of this year and then beyond to discuss it the next meeting. Feasibility study update. So the county didn't, I'll back up. One of the core missions of our group is to promote a credible third-party feasibility study. So last year we approached the county about funding that, like as they did with the 2008 feasibility study that's now outdated. They were supportive. We put together a good ask. The county council adopted it in July of last year, but they weren't able to put together a contract in 2024. So it had to go for reapproval with the county council back in last month. And it was a little harder this go around, I think, because of funding challenges and all that. And, but it did get passed. We haven't seen that the contract's been executed yet. So I don't know if they're working on it yet, but we're still hoping to have that by the end of this year.
Just because we haven't asked them if it's been, I mean, I thought it was ready to go and just needed council approval and just sign on the dotted line and go.
Tell us a little bit about how that works.
Well, after the council approves it, it has to go through like a signing process. And so we just need to verify that it's been signed and that the works have begun. So this isn't like a risk thing that it's not going to happen.
It's a time thing.
Yeah. So I'll follow up. We were going to invite them to the next research and feasibility committee meeting, to the contractors potentially to have a conversation as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Our next steps, prepare for the upcoming community meeting and continue to try to engage the community and get all the information we can out there. Communications, Lisa, would you like to give the communications committee report?
Sure, we just published the second soundbite, which is a property tax comparison, and there's some on the back counter. This is a small one, but it looks like this. Just interesting comparisons of what tax levy rates are in Birch Bay versus some of the other communities that are similar and or here in Whatcom County. We have continued our outreach to the HOAs. We've been at 3 and we're allowed to present at 2 and had some really good engagement with community members who had no idea that what we were working on. We have published the first of our newsletters, which we're hoping to do quarterly as well to kind of follow up behind the quarterly meeting. So this one has information from the February meeting, and these are actually all in your Northern Lights today. So that if you get the paper at your house, you will get this at home as well. So, but these are the extras. So we'll have these to hand out at our events as well. So for people who aren't seeing what we're doing online, The website is continuing to be updated and has a lot of really good, useful information on it. And we'll be working on press release and social media notifications for that May meeting. And our next meeting is May 8th. For anyone interested.
Excellent. Jonathan, would you like to tell us what research and feasibility has been up to?
Yeah, we, thanks to Holly's good work, we had some excellent updates on the potential revenues that a city of Birch Bay could generate. We analyzed some data related to real estate excise tax based off of the total sales over the last 10 years. And we're going to compare that. That's a source that's often used for meeting capital needs. So we're going to compare that with estimated capital needs for the Birch Bay area. That's a little tricky for us to determine, but the approach we're using is to look at the 20-year CIP for the county, the 6-year infrastructure plan, and to essentially catalog the planned projects and estimate whether or not enough resources are being generated to meet those needs if they were coming to Birch Bay. I'm sure the feasibility study will do, additional analysis will be helpful, but that's the methodology we're using. It is good for what we can get, but it's not going to be perfect. We did also discuss what we're going to report out at the next meeting. I won't go through that, but I will say we had some data presented last time about the comparative tax rates of cities versus their unincorporated areas of their host county. And what we looked at those tax rates for every city in the state of Washington, and then we looked at it for every city that had incorporated since 1990. So newly incorporated cities. That's how we defined a newly incorporated city. We found some things that are interesting, and we'll be asking the communications committee to consider ways to share this information. But when you compare every city in Washington to their host county tax rate, you see that cities pay on average 12.55% more than their host cities. Now, keep in mind, that is all cities and all counties. So you're comparing really small cities with counties, and you're comparing very metropolitan, large cities like Seattle with counties and things like that. So that the comparison varies widely based off of the characteristics of the city. So 35% of cities, if you count all of them, pay less than their host counties. 65% pay more than their host counties. Now, when you compare newly incorporated cities, so those cities that have incorporated since 1990, we found that those cities pay on average 10.6% less than their unincorporated host counties. So 76% of newly incorporated cities pay less than their host counties, and 24% of them pay more. So we thought that was a material difference because you're looking at newer cities and their tax rates and the decisions that they tend to make about how they're taxing themselves are significantly different than when you look at all cities in the state. So our next steps, we are going to do some more analysis of the capital plans, and we are going to be working with and inviting the research of a contractor that's updating the feasibility study to come have a conversation with us. We have questions asked about their methodology. We want to share with them the work that we've done. They might find some benefit in that. So that's the next steps. We're going to meet next May 21st at 6 at the Birch Bay Chamber of Commerce, if anyone would like to join.
Would you be able to take any questions?
I can.
Are there any questions for kind of a lot of information? No. All righty. Charmin, are you able to give a finance update? Or we can just.
Oh,
There we
no. You think I'm not going to say anything?
Oh, I didn't know your vacation.
Well, first of all, good morning, you guys. You all look terrific and the volume comes through great. Yes, I'm in Bangkok, and for you that it's very interesting. It's like what, 20 after 6, quarter after 6 p.m. on Thursday. Here it is quarter after 6 a.m. Friday morning. So it's kind of interesting to think that you're going in your evening and I'm just starting my day for shopping in Bangkok. What can I tell you? But Anyway, all right. Well, I'm excited to see that insert from communications in the Northern Lights. So I certainly hope that a lot of our community members will get a chance to read that and understand more of what we're doing. So as I read the treasurer's report, I'll kind of bring you up to date where we are on the finances. Of course, we have our regular income coming in through the C shop of $100, our dividends 21 cents. Then, of course, our monthly expenses, which are North Bay rental for the church is 100, constant contact email 8161, mailbox 25. Our February expense check for Matt was just things we needed for the February meeting with 2680. Our North Bay rental check for the month of April was $100. And then, of course, the Point Roberts Press, which was our insert newsletter into the Northern Light, which included printing and insertion, was $2,114.12. And so our total expenses were $2,447.53, which still leaves us happily in our account balance $2,168. So we're hoping to hear good news in May from our neighborhood friendly grant for $5,000. So we'll cross our fingers so we can continue on with our newsletters and so forth. I do have one comment. We have a finance committee meeting that's scheduled on May 1st, but I'd really like to reschedule it since I won't be home yet. So I'm asking if we could reschedule it till the 7th, which is a Wednesday, the 7th at 5 p.m.
Problems with that? Yeah, we could do that.
Okay, awesome. And we'll just meet at the chamber, which would be super. So that's all I have.
We'll ask.
Is that, yeah,
Yeah.
is that 5 p.m. or 6 p.m.? Because usually the chamber doesn't like us in.
Oh, correct. Yep, 6 p.m. would probably be better.
Okay, great. Thank you, Sharon. Thanks for taking the time to put all this together when you should be enjoying Bangkok.
Well, I've got plenty of time to do that.
Can you tell us what the winning lottery numbers are for tomorrow?
Don't you wish?
All right. Well, thank you very much. Kind of jumped through, but we were anxious to get to our speakers today. So would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, so thanks for the invitation. I'm Sandi McMillan. I'm the general manager for Birch Bay Water and Sewer District, and I'm gonna let Don introduce himself.
I'm Don Montford. I've been a commissioner at Birch Bay Water and Sewer District for 30 some years. Started out when Blaine had the community in a water moratorium. We could not connect any new houses at that time. That hasn't been true for quite a while, as you can see out there. I'm here really to listen and support Sandi and Dan.
I'm Dan Eisses. I've been with the district for a little over 20 years. Don was 10 years into his stint as a commissioner when I started. So I have recently retired, but it's hard after 20 years to just let something go. And so I appreciate that they call me back occasionally to assist with various things.
So I worked for the district for 12 years as their finance director. So I work with both of these men. You have a report, it's kind of a colorful report there. And we were going to go through, and I'm not going to read everything that's within the report, but I'm just going to point out some highlights for all of you. And please ask questions as we go along. I'll try to kind of go slow enough to allow you to think about that section and ask any questions. We were formed in 1968. The district operates as a municipal government under RCW 57. We have an elected 3-member board of commissioners that provide policy guidance to the district's GM, who is responsible for all the planning and managing everyday operations. The district right now has 15 staff, and we have about 8,500 connections. We operate a 1.45 million gallon a day wastewater treatment plant, which is located on 60 acres that abut Birch Bay State Park. and near Point Whitehorn on the south end of Birch Bay. The water system includes 3 reservoirs, 4 booster pumps, and about 70 miles of water mains. The district's current water supply consists of groundwater that comes to us through a long-term contract with the city of Blaine. All of you are welcome to stop by for a visit. We can give you a field trip to the wastewater treatment plant anytime. In addition to the water system, the wastewater treatment plant itself consists of about 50 miles of pipe, 900 manholes, and 11 pump stations. We have a conventional activated sludge process with primary clarifiers and surface aerators using a UV system for disinfection. We have service contracts that provide for the disposal and the hauling of our biosolids, and those are land applied over in Custer. We have a Department of Ecology beneficial use facility permit for that. And then the district's outfall is 1,500 feet off of Point Whitehorn near Georgia Strait in 50 feet of salt water. So the city of Blaine supplies drinking water from 8 active wells to 2 contract customers and approximately 4,000 retail customers. The district is the city's largest contract customer and typically accounts for slightly more than half of the city's annual total water demand. Right now, we have about 8,500 retail customers. The contract that we have for that wholesale water creates a methodology for calculating the rates for water supply services to be paid by the district. That rate setting methodology is outlined in an appendix in the wholesale water contract and is based on the city of Blaine's budget. The methodology defines fixed costs and variable costs, as well as supply costs and distribution costs. It's not a complex contract, it's just a very comprehensive one. We look at all of City of Blaine's expenses for operating their water fund. The contract was to be in effect for 30 years. We started the contract in 2002. Currently, it expires in 2042. We've had 1 10-year extension. We have 2 more 10-year extensions available, so that would run through 2062. An important aspect of the contract is the security of water rights for both the city and the district. As background, the waters of the state of Washington belong to the public and can't be owned by any individual or group. Instead, a person or group may be granted a right to use a volume of water or defined purposes and in a defined place per the Department of Ecology. The city's water rights were granted or certificated with its entire service area in mind, which includes the district service area. While the district's use of the city's water rights does not confer ownership, the city's ability to unilaterally terminate service to the district is subject to approval to the Department of Health and the Department of Ecology. So we just wanted to make it clear to everyone that the water rights and the supply of water are a very secure situation for Birch Bay Water and Sewer District.
Thank you.
Yeah.
In addition to all of that, we have continually examined security for future generations of water. And so Dan and the board, the district was responsible for drilling exploratory wells in the recent few years. One wasn't productive, but EW2 and EW3 are highly productive wells. So we'll be looking at that with the city of Blaine, trying to figure out best use for that water.
Can I ask where those are?
There, do you know the current city of Blaine well field?
No.
Okay, so city of Blaine's well field is pretty much east of Blaine, 1 to 2 miles. And these wells were south and southeast from there. Custer School Road. No, north of Birch Bay Linden Road. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Quick question. So if the city does get incorporated, does the water supply only supply Birch Bay? Or, and the water supply in Blaine, they supply the Blaine one, or how is that going to be divided? Or is it too early to ask that question?
The district's position is that incorporation does not change
Water supply.
how the
Distribution.
district operates.
And it would be consistent with how the 2008 feasibility study looked at Birch Bay Water and Sewer District would continue operations. And so the water rights and the water supply, the wholesale water contract is between City of Blaine and the district.
So just to clarify that, City of Blaine supplies their connections and Birch Bay Water and Sewer District supplies their connections
Right.
already, so. Yeah, that wouldn't change.
The city of Blaine owns the facilities, so the wells, the machinery, the pipes that we get it to the district.
I think is that brought up because every once in a while you hear like a Blaine City Council member go, if we continue to serve them. Yeah. Okay, sorry,
Yeah.
yeah,
We'd rather that question not be out there.
I'm sorry.
No, I mean, it is part of having a contract with another entity.
It's good to know we're protected.
That's the district's position. We're looking out long-term for the good of Birch Bay, and that's the Board of Commissioners' job.
Thank you.
And the City of Blaine has been given this document also. So there's, if you want to distribute it to your group, it's publicly available. So historically, the city and the district prefer to stay involved together in the city's well-filled maintenance. Our peak usage is usually around the 4th of July, and nobody wants a water shortage on that weekend. We're going to talk a little bit about the wastewater treatment facility itself. It was designed and constructed in the mid 1970s with a startup in 1976.
And a lot of the original infrastructure is still there. We've maintained it and done additions over the years. It's probably started off with about 0.6 of an MGD in the mid-70s. And we're now permitted for up to 1.45 MGD on a monthly average. We have we call it an excellent performance and compliance history. We're covered with Department of Ecology oversight of our permit conditions. They do give out basically a perfect treatment plant award for not goofing up any of the paperwork or any of the sewage for a year, and we've been awarded that 15 times in the last 16 years. I think it's back and forth between us and Bellingham and Whatcom County as far as most number of awards. Sandi had mentioned the activated sludge process. Page 6 has a diagram of what's going on with that. I won't go into any of those details. We do about 310 million gallons of wastewater per year. That's treated to the state standards. Nutrients has been a big deal the last couple of years as far as how much nutrients are permitted to be put out in the sound, and that can impact dissolved oxygen levels. It's more of an issue in South Puget Sound, but ecology kind of carpet bombed the entire area, whether you have good dissolved oxygen or not. The district is part of working on calling ecology's attention to how they implemented the program. We don't think it was done in per state law, and there's been some back and forth and different, lawsuits from different, treatment plants. We were part of that. At the same time, we have, made improvements to reduce our nutrients, and we're now putting out about 50% less nutrients than we were before.
Are there unplanned outflows during storm events in Birch Bay? Like how many gallons or how frequently does that occur?
So if you're in the city of Bellingham, where it's an older system, stormwater is part of the collection system for different areas within Bellingham. It's called kind of the grandfather combined system. With those, you are allowed to have an untreated. Birch Bay is new enough that our sewer system is supposed to be entirely separated from, it is separated from our stormwater system, from the county stormwater system. We still get a lot of infiltration and inflow. So we'll have very high flows during the big storms. But we don't have any outfalls, other than going through our treatment plant.
Does Birch Bay have any of the liability for exposure to PCB contaminants that other larger cities have for stormwater and wastewater?
Not that we, not that's on our radar. PFAS is a big deal right now. And that there's some issue with, there's some places that are finding PFAS in biosolids. You're hearing quite a bit about that. They're still developing rules around that.
Well, can you clarify what PFAS is?
Cancer causing.
Forever chemicals. Forever chemicals.
Yeah. So it's in a lot of stuff, firefighting, foam and in the carpet and.
Mascara.
Oh my gosh. So. Yeah. Page 7 goes into archaeology a little bit. I was going to take that one. Birch Bay is a desirable place to live, and part of that evidence is that it has been for the last 5,000 to 10,000 years. And those are state resources. It is, illegal to dig and disturb archaeology. The district got into this pretty heavily in about 2005 when we redid the force main through the state park. And the archaeology requirements have evolved over time. The 70s, what they had to do to dig through there was not that much compared to what we had to do in 2000s to go through there. We've maintained that cooperation with the tribe, and know that we both have to live here with their resource. And so we've got protocols in place and take it seriously. About 2 weeks ago, there was a main break on a Saturday night, and it was in the area that was hot with archaeology, and the crew know what to do. They called our archaeologist out there, basically did the bare minimum to get it back in place, and notified the tribe and worked through the process to get it fixed within a couple of days. The water line we got fixed, but to backfill the hole and deal with that. So it is something that we're very much on top of, and does take time and money to deal with it properly.
Dan, I heard you got an award from the Lummies for taking such good care of.
He has a framed blanket from the Lumbee Nation for how he handled the sewer force main that runs through Birch Bay Park.
Yeah, I remember doing that happening. But anyway, congratulations to you, because that's a high thing to get.
And I would only clarify that the district received that award. The Board of Commissioners signed a few checks on how we dealt with things that helped result in that.
So over on page 8, we get to ask the question, where are we today? And we establish goals during the annual budgeting process. Dawn's heard us speak of the budget is the greatest policy that the commissioners can set each year. It's really the marching orders that we have. So we set these goals. You can see them across each of the topics from regulatory over to IT. And those inform our performance measures, which are across the very bottom. So we're constantly monitoring inflow and infiltration, our performance of that. We look at rainfall. We look at electricity used to get the massive amounts of air to our bugs. We look at our water use efficiency report. We try to keep that beneath 5% on a 3-year rolling average of water loss that's unaccounted for. We increase the number of GIS locations that we have on all our assets. When we implemented the automated meter replacement program, that forced us into the GIS system. And so we're now taking the time to locate all of our assets and infrastructure within our system. We look at a lot in financial management. I'll walk you through a couple of those different performance measures. We're always looking at securing the water supply. We're trying to update at least 20% of our customer contact files. We also look at per connection, per equivalent living unit, some cost containment on that. And that's the graph that you see at the bottom. So as the district is constantly expanding at the rate of about 1% or less a year, we try to make sure that our costs have been contained, not only in personnel costs, which is our largest cost, but also in the amount of chemicals or electricity or fleet vehicles or whatever else we're buying. So that looks at water, sewer, and the water purchase, the amount of the wholesale water contract. With the installation of the automated meter reading project in 2019, our leak detection capabilities have dramatically increased. So we can tell, I've never been surrounded by so many customers before in one room. So we can tell now who's got a leak because you've got continuous usage over 24 hours period. And you'll see on your bill, in the middle of your bill, it'll say, hey, you possibly have a leak. So we're identifying those and notifying so many customers each month. The district's goal is to provide essential services without interruption to our customers. So back in 2017, our Board of Commissioners saw that we were locking off almost 600 customers per year because of their delinquencies. And we set out to try to make intervention to reduce the amount of lockoffs that we were having. And we did a series of different things. We emphasized our program with the Community Assistance Program. We linked up with the Opportunity Council. We found different methods of online payments that were easier for some people. We emphasized the fact that you can budget for your water and sewer bill. You can pay a certain amount every month, even though we're not billing you until the 60-day period. And we have gotten our lockoffs down to 59 per year last year.
We also did COVID.
And through COVID.
Yeah, and then we did COVID too.
That's
And
fantastic.
there was a period where we couldn't lock off people, and that really showed us that given time and some notice that people would be paying.
And that's the biggest thing, is that we've extended it out 6 months. So you're 3 bills behind when we're finally going to head on out and talk to you. And we're making a lot more phone calls and emails and trying to improve our contact information of finding your renters and who's the occupant of the place. So we're working on all that. And that means doing good work gets more work. So in 2024, the district was appointed to the state of Washington Health Committee to try to find an affordability program that the whole state of Washington can run. So we have annual budgets that take into account many different factors such as inflation, capital improvement projects, and the costs of just pure operations and maintenance rehabilitation of our system. The district maintains a 10-year revenue requirement model, so we're always trying to keep rates nice and smooth and not having large rate increases and then having that too far ahead of when we're building infrastructure. We do have a tiered pricing structure for our water. So your basic use of water is going to be about 400 cubic feet of water per month. For a 60-day billing period, that's 800 cubic feet, and that's going to cost you about $88.95 for water and sewer service. We have 3 tiers in our water commodities. So the basic, the first tier is up to 800 cubic feet. And then it goes from, per month, it's 400 cubic feet. And then it goes from 5 to 2,000 cubic feet. And then our top tier, for those that like to irrigate a lawn and a garden and everything else, that's 2,100 cubic feet. And that's the highest price of the tiered system. So you're going to get a strong conservation message. We're going to charge you a lot for that level of water usage. The table there, we've looked at, the board has looked at affordability in a variety of ways, and we kind of ended up on this one in about 2018. And we look at all the water and sewer, all the municipal water and sewer in Whatcom County. And we use, Manny Teodoro is a national speaker on water affordability, and we use the number of hours worked at minimum wage, which is that middle column there. And you can see Lake Whatcom Water and Sewer District. It takes somebody 13 hours, so a day and a half of work every month to pay for their water and sewer bill. And you can see Birch Bay down there towards the bottom, right above Sumas, is 6 hours. So there's a number of different ways to look at water affordability. We do send this out to all the municipalities, so they have their data too.
What water use efficiency and conservation is one of the ways that we've been able to keep our rates low. Don mentioned the moratorium when he started as a board member. I think got Birch Bay thinking early on about water use efficiency. We basically have to have 2 pumps. If we need 1.5 million gallons a day during the summertime, we need 2 pumps that can do that much. If one of them goes out, the residents are not going to be happy about having a water outage on the 4th of July. So we're basically buying 2 of everything in theory, so that we have that redundancy, and that's where it gets expensive. The other thing is it's on demand. You turn on your faucet and you need that water coming out. If you go into a McDonald's and you have to wait 10 minutes for a meal, you're okay with that. You walk into that faucet and turn it on and it doesn't come out immediately, and that's not good. So the more we can keep the usage down, the less pipes and pumps and electricity that we have to buy. So that is a message that we try and put out there every year. Keeping the leaks down, and it's definitely one of the ways that our rates have stayed low. Wastewater compliance, I guess this is where I was supposed to talk about our compliance efforts, and our inorganic nitrogen. I touched on both of those out of order, and also the inflow and infiltration. This is on the wastewater side, is kind of like conservation on the water side. The tighter the system on the wastewater side that we can keep, the more rain that we can keep out of the system, the more basement drains out of people's houses, the less we have to treat. And the more room we have in the pipe for actual wastewater rather than clean groundwater. So we do smoke testing, we video our lines, different sections where we're videoing the entire district about every 7 years. Trying to reduce that I, again, it's a cost measurement of how do we keep rates low.
The district does not receive any tax revenue. We plan for our capital, our personnel, our operations and maintenance, and we develop a rate requirement for each of the years, and that's how we set our rates. We are audited by the state of Washington every 2 years. We have over 12 years now, I think 12 years now, of clean audits. I was appointed to the Washington State Auditor's Office Local Government Advisory Committee about 4 years ago. I represent all water and sewer districts in the state of Washington, and we try to help the state legislature figure out how to create better financial reports to get the information that they need from water and sewer districts, school districts, fire districts, everyone. Financial policies are set by the Board of Commissioners. Those guide the district to maintain sound financial practices. We, in 2016, adopted a debt policy. We build a lot of things. So for the next 10 years, our capital improvement plan is $40 million. 26 million of that needs to be financed, and we are constantly looking for the lowest interest rates that we can get. Those, we've been very successful over many years getting those secured through the State of Washington Public Works Board. Unfortunately, that's a state program that's frequently swept for other legislative needs. And it looks like both the House and the Senate budgets both have it being swept this next 2 years also. In 2019, the district sought advice from a third-party financial consulting firm, Raftelis, to conduct a financial policy review. They looked at the adequacy of our cash policies, or cash position rather. They looked at our debt financing. They looked at all of our financial management policies. And they made the statement that the district is among the most comprehensive and useful financial management guidelines that Raftelis has ever observed for any similar sized utility. Some of our reserves are our construction contingency fund, which is 1% of all of our fixed assets we keep on hand for emergencies. We have an operating reserve, which is 60 days of cash on hand in case of something like a pandemic or a cybersecurity attack on our billing system. We have money set aside to handle that. And then we have a rate mitigation fund that is 10% of our operating revenue. And so that is a $3 million reserve for this current budget year. Like I said before, we've grown a lot with IT. Along with that automated meter reading project came ArcGIS, and we're currently mapping all of our infrastructure. Looking into the future, even though our capital infrastructure is about $65 million, the Board of Commissioners and our staff of 15 people are the biggest assets for our district. They're our highest investments. We've had a good history of retaining board members and our staff. Right now, our staff has a current tenure of about 12 years. Each of our board members serves for a 6-year period, and they're staggered terms. So every 2 years, we have a commissioner up for election.
Water rights is a big one. Did mention it a little bit with City of Blaine, but countywide right now, Ecology selected us for an adjudication. If those of you that have heard of that, basically anybody that uses water for whatever reason is going to have to prove that they have a water right and document that. I think it's like 30,000 people that are gonna have to be going through the court system and showing their approved water source. It's a little scary, but it's as far as the residents of Birch Bay, you can know that the district is going to be following that process and securing your water rights. You don't have to do it individually. Unless you use some other water other than from Birch Bay.
On resiliency, just the end of page 16, we have a long history of planning for weather events and the compound flooding issues that we've had on recent years that are just getting more and more exponential. Matt had proposed a question of what is the biggest concern area that we have around Incorporation, and quite possibly this would be it, is wondering when Birch Bay is going to start facing some of the issues that are soon to be cropping up with sea level rise, more compound flooding, exponentially more often, more of these weather events. So that would probably be the biggest thing that we would be asking about the challenge. With the last pages wrap up with kind of an intense study on Birch Bay Incorporation, or staying inside the urban growth area, just the as is, or possibly an annexation from the city of Blaine. So from a district's perspective, we would survive any of those three items. And then the city, the newly incorporated city, would have to decide if it meets certain other requirements to assume the district. That's kind of stated later, but it would be 60% of the service area of the district, or 60% of the assessed value of the district. One of the things that if the newly incorporated city were to acquire the district, we've seen pretty much all cities attach a utility tax on those utilities. And that can range from City of Blaine collects 9% of the utility tax. City of Linden taxes water and sewer from 6 to 10%. And I think it was City of Blaine City of Bellingham at approximately 18% on water and 11% on sewer. So we assume that if the City of Blaine were to annex and assume part of the district, this tax would be imposed by them or a newly created city. Of course, if there were a newly created city, we don't have any track record, as that city to record, whether they would have utility taxes or not. So it's difficult to know that, but we see a pattern with other cities of doing that. The other item is on interfund loans, and unlike districts, cities can use their enterprise fund to loan money to their general fund or another fund that they have. They have to pay it back with interest to the enterprise fund, like water and sewer fund. But this practice does occur. So a new city of Birch Bay may have short-term cash flow issues where it would want to take a loan from acquiring the district. Last piece on incorporation or annexation is kind of getting at what I just talked about, the 60% of the district service area or 60% of the assessed valuation of real property within the district service area. Then you would have an ordinance as a new city saying that you wanted to acquire the district, and it would be put to a referendum vote of the citizens. Last page, page 20. We were asked by Matt about population, and we kind of put some thoughts there around we're heavily involved with Whatcom County's 2025 comprehensive plan update. Part of that is updating population growth figures. County Council has preliminarily adopted 2,662 population for the next 20 years of their comp plan. And so that's what they call a middle to high piece of the population options. Originally, their land capacity analysis showed that Birch Bay can accommodate that kind of growth and that the UGA didn't need to expand. In recent conversations, it sounds like county council can decide to expand a UGA even without the need supported by the data. So that may be an option for county council still. A few different property owners have asked to be included in the UGA, and that's Kaluna Properties down on Cohen Road, out on Point Marhorn a bit, and then 7590 Blaine Road has asked to be included in the UGA, and then 116 acres on Lincoln Road. It's also being requested. By the end of this month, Whatcom County will have the draft environmental impact statement available for public comment. The district is anticipating to make comment on that. There will be a public hearing at the end of May, and then county council will take those into consideration. The back picture, we overlaid your proposed incorporated city onto our service area. So you can kind of see some differences there.
The comment I would make on that is, just being careful where, you might want the boundaries to be. One is, it's my understanding that to become a city, the property has to be in the urban growth area to begin with. If you're in the rural area, if the zoning is rural, I think it's going to be difficult to get that in the city without first changing the zoning. So it might be where you want to be having comment to county council right now as they're going through the comprehensive plan update. If you could get those properties changed as far as zoning, that would make it easier. It might be the only way that those areas could become city. The other part with our very focused water and sewer eyes, some of that rural area that you're including is difficult to serve from a water and sewer point. Some of it's wet. Some of it has other issues. Our sewer line depth, how deep we go, we like gravity, we don't like pump stations. So how far you can extend that sewer and still provide gravity service is a big way of being cost effective. And, you know, if you get out there beyond that gravity service, pump stations can easily be $1 million just for one of them. The David Evans report, I think there was a copy here. We were basically looking at where the best or the most cost feasible areas. If Whatcom County was going to be looking for additional urban growth area from a water and sewer perspective, what would be the cheapest as a whole? And
this map here.
And basically, the closer to our treatment plant, the cheaper it's going to be. And where the north area, the existing pipes are really close to at capacity. So if you put more citizens up there at the north end, you're basically replacing all of that infrastructure all the way to the treatment plant. The further south, if you went down towards Bay Road, you're just that much closer to our treatment plant. So the costs are better that way.
Does the district have a seat at the table in the conversations with the county of the comprehensive plan update?
Just barely.
Okay.
We have a few years ago, the board put into play a memorandum of understanding with Whatcom County that we would be involved in comprehensive planning.
That resulted from us not being involved and them messing it up. worse than usual.
So is it true that as a district, you're obligated to extend service into any area designated as part of the urban growth boundary?
It's a service area.
Our opinion is no.
Okay,
It-
but others don't share that opinion, I imagine.
So when Whatcom County goes forward with their comprehensive plan, they are going to want to see a comprehensive plan from us that says this area will be served. And to us, the area that we serve is based on the Board of Commissioners saying, yes, we will serve that area. And so it could end up in loggerheads.
Jim has a question back here.
Yeah, so, and it's, I don't know which group to, whether it's a steering committee question or.
Speak up, everybody, too, just so the microphone and the folks on Zoom. can
Yeah,
hear you, but-
whoever wants to take this, so if. The city of Birch Bay incorporates, or they join Blaine or whatever, and it becomes a city. And they do assume. The water and sewer districts to be part of the city services, what happens to? The services that are outside of. The areas that. Are. Outside the city limit, the new city limits, like, is there still gonna be a sewer district, water and sewer district, or am I gonna be paying my bill to Blaine or Birch Bay now, or how does that work?
Yeah, the hope is that if an assumption were to be something interesting to the newly incorporated city, that we would have a negotiated contract so that we could identify those types of issues and figure out the best solution for them.
It isn't terribly uncommon that a city-owned utility provides service outside of its
Mhm.
municipal boundaries. That does happen.
The Growth Management Act has an impact on that and how diligent the county wants to be in restricting that growth outside their areas.
So the population piece, you have a colorful map. There was a question by the steering committee about giving you data per neighborhood. And this one really put us through our paces. We have to kind of look at the data a couple different ways. IT was not too excited by this one. So we have a total of 5,316 meters, and that is with condos, but without RV parks. So that's the total there. Then we looked at how many were not, what we believe is a non-resident. And so we looked at the data over the last year and found everyone that had 1-0 bill and an average billing of less than 300 cubic feet for 60 days. So we're looking at people that didn't visit us during the winter, which is common. And that came a few times during the summer and a few odd weekends on the shoulder season. So that totaled 1,046 non-residents. So that's about 25% of our community is outside of the area. We're not sure if that means Canadian or within the US. So then we looked at the difference between the two numbers is 4,270, and we'll call that people that are residents here. We can look at per household estimates of anywhere from 1.8 to up to 2.3 people per connection. 2.3 is what Whatcom County used in the buildable lands analysis. If you use kind of in the middle, 2.03, you get about 8,685 people here, which is very similar to the OFM 2020. So I have a feeling that we're on the right track with this data, but if you want anything else, we may be able to help you identify those pieces. It's been difficult over the years to tell how many people are here and how many people aren't. And water conservation is so good nowadays with different types of appliances and things that you don't see a lot of an increase in water usage. So we're relying on those OFM population numbers a lot, and we can find some confidence in the integrity and the numbers with that. I think that was about all of the questions that we were asked.
Yeah, Jim, so what the numbers on this billing group thing mean what?
So we bill out in books in different cycles. So every week we're billing different neighborhoods. So book 55 out on Birch Point, we know we have those people identified in our utility billing system. And we can tell you, corresponding to this sheet, book 55, we believe there's 37 non-residents and 165 residents.
Okay.
So we can march around the bay and tell you, and that was your question to us, was by neighborhood, how do these numbers look?
Thank you for answering that.
Yeah.
That is incredible. That question kind of stemmed from, the Office of Financial Management says there's 9,000 people in Birch Bay residents. But on a weekend with weather like today, it feels like.
Yeah.
So.
It is.
Dora Lee has a question back behind you.
Yeah, I'm curious about this district billing groups. So does Birch Bay Water and Sewer go all around Birch Point? Is that outlining your service area that will eventually happen? Is that, like the Blaine swap that you're talking about? Would Birch Bay Water and Sewer be serving them?
We have service out here. I cannot answer if we would be serving them or not. We don't know the intentions.
But let's say that they develop that.
Right.
Would you give the property over to Blaine?
We don't know.
Oh,
Yeah.
So that's,
At this point, we don't.
okay, so everything, and you go all the way where this green 110 is, you go all the way to Drayton Harbor, would be like down Harbor View. You go, that's all your Birch Bay Water and Sewer.
That area is water only.
Okay,
That's outside of the urban growth area, so
okay,
we don't and can't supply sewer service out there. So if, going back to your Blaine question, they would have to supply the sewer. The water service would be the question between the city and us.
okay. So you are serving this 55, the pink one, you are serving with water?
Yes.
Okay.
That's a question that's been on our minds for a long time. Because they don't have sewer out there, and it's our job to provide sewer. But it's a tough project to get it out there, expensive, and no one wants to pay it.
Yeah. And in some ways, maybe sewer going through there, I remember talking back with the steering committee, that sewer going out there might have helped the sloping, with all the septic tanks that are there and the water running down.
It might.
It might have helped, it just be kind of a conduit that would have helped the people that live on the bluff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they all have just, septic systems?
Yes. It perks real well out there and near the beach.
And down the slope. It goes fast.
My question about your concerns related to Birch Bay possibly incorporating was kind of a two-part one. The other part of it was because we were operating on the assumption of the feasibility study that you're doing a great job, leave it as is. A new city would be busy setting up a new city for many years. What are some opportunities for partnership between a potential new city of Birch Bay and the district?
Yeah, we see ourselves as really well-honed expertise around water and sewer. We see ourselves as having installed so much infrastructure since 1976 around here. And we know through a number of different engineering plans where the growth should happen and where it's most expensive. So we see a huge opportunity working with your future city. And we would hope that you would want us to continue with water and sewer services.
I have a follow-on question to that. So right now, how much say or influence do you have over the county's capital infrastructure planning? So the reason I ask this question is you go and you have to meet your infrastructure needs. The county has obligations to maintain service level requirements and conditions of roads and things like that. They have their own plans. Those two plans and timing may not align, and that could be very expensive. Do you get a seat at that table and influence over those decisions as when they do improvements?
On the stormwater side.
With BB Warm.
With BB Warm, we do meet with them 2 to 3 times a year. And when BB Warm originally started, the district had to pay for our impervious surface. And we went to them and said, hey, you know, these are the same customer base that you guys are charging. And if we can get you to get better stormwater infrastructure in different areas, that could help our system out by not having a flooded area over top of our sewer lines.
Yeah.
So they did, we do have an interlocal agreement with Whatcom County around stormwater. They no longer charge us for our impervious surface. And we have these coordination meetings where we work together on projects. When they're going into a neighborhood, we'll just, you know, is it one that can provide benefits to the district by getting stormwater out? On their road projects, they typically schedule those out 6 years on their, can't remember exactly what it's called, but they have a 6-year road plan. So we get to see those ahead of time and identify, hey, if we should be replacing that water line in that road, let's get it done before they put brand new asphalt over the top of it.
So you're already being super thoughtful about those opportunities.
We try.
That's great.
We don't have that much to, you know, we can't go to, we haven't had success going to Whatcom County and saying, hey, don't do this project or do one over here because we want to rip this one up. But we do get to see the stuff coming at us.
Would it be fair to say that with a municipality focused in Birch Bay, that there could be opportunities to coordinate infrastructure investments together at a higher level? Is that, I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but would you see that as an opportunity?
It's potential.
It's political.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, we're not a policy, like I'm just kind of curious, like.
yeah.
That's an area that I know other cities have managed their utility and their infrastructure costs quite effectively by doing that thing very, very well.
Before I came to the district, I worked for a city south of here, even south of Bellingham. And there may have been times where I charged the utilities 20 or 30% of a road job.
Yeah.
Just to, you know,
Bring in the money.
some could say that it's working together. Some could say that you're using utility rate base to help out with the road project.
There was a bill in the legislature, it didn't go through, but the bill allowed some decision-making and projects that required the facilities to be moved. In other words, right now, a state or a city can come in and say, we're gonna lay down a road, you move that pipe at our expense. And we're trying to make that a little bit more fair, but that's one of those opportunities of cooperation. It depends on the people.
Pat's got a question down there.
It's not a question, it's a statement. I think that there'd be certainly strong cooperation between the water sewer district and the city. right now, the water sewer district works for the county and county planning. And I could show you some projects where it didn't quite fit. You know, like, oh, the county's gonna allow somebody to build a whole section for storage, but no sewer through it. And I could probably go around and find some other things too. I think the cooperation is really important. The water sewer district, and I tell people it's an excellent, they did an excellent job. You did an excellent presentation tonight. It's one thing at Birch Bay that works really well. Now, Birch Bay Warm, well, you know, they don't charge roads either, they're imperious services. Well, for that.
Thanks, Pat. Are there,
Just have clarification. So.
Yes.
Does the waters district serve Simiano? Or is that, is there up there on that? Pardon me?
The golf course, this,
Yeah.
this square here,
Yeah,
that's within city of Blaine city limits.
so you,
And the point are all served by the city of Blaine.
we have some more maps on the back table that show this in a similar fashion, water, sewer, and then Birch Bay and all of it too.
so we don't share the infrastructure
We,
with Blaine and some of this?
we share infrastructure through the contract that we have with Blaine. So we actually have a water connection with Blaine's system right here. At the north end. We've got an intertie with City of Blaine here as well. So,
We pay for a portion of that infrastructure, the depreciation on it. And then we also pay them a return on investment. And so it's a really good deal for their city if they can't use the capacity, if they don't have the number of citizens or the number of connections there to use it, and they've got those pipes right sized to give us water. You're getting a 40 basis points on the investment that we're paying you, the portion of depreciation that we have on it. So it's a good deal. I think it's a fair contract is how we would present that.
So when they have conversation about, like, they were gonna have agree to larger development on the east side of Blaine, now they're moving the conversation to the west side. Does that involve yourself? Yeah, as a
That's the
district?
same question that Dora Lee had asked was, would we be servicing them after that land swap were to occur? And we don't know what their intention is for that. That's something that would happen after the annexation. It is a very expensive area to serve. Dan was talking about that, and it's in the memo from David Evans and Associates. Birch Point would be expensive for City of Blaine. It'd be very expensive for Birch Bay Water Sewer District to serve also.
Blaine needs customers.
Yes.
The district doesn't. We basically spend what we take in, so we don't tax the land or anything like that. We have no revenue coming in when we expand, so Blaine would be more interested in getting land with people on it. And we don't have any real reason to challenge that.
Bruce, sorry, you had a question?
I do,
Comment?
and mine's more water supply related, representing fire service, and fire chiefs here tonight. The water supply from the city of Blaine to Simiano Point is an underwater supply line that my understanding is doesn't have a huge longevity plan for it. Is there another water supply line to our area that doesn't come under salt water?
Our main supply from City of Blaine comes down Blaine Road and is hung on a bridge
Yeah.
the bridge.
The bridge that's failing.
The bridge that's failing. The pipe is also close to failing. We looked at replacing it 10 or 15 years ago. And the state at the time knew the bridge needed to be replaced and they couldn't tell us which direction it was gonna go.
Yeah,
So what we did was do a second connection with Blaine that goes across the pipe on Peace Portal. So we have two kind of main connections with Blaine, both hanging on bridges, but not going underneath salt water.
Subject to earth.
No.
Issues.
So,
So in your opinion, is there adequate reservoirs and flow to manage the fire risk in this community?
Our comprehensive plan gets updated about every 8 years. Part of our comprehensive plan addresses fire flow and what areas we're serving. You know, depending on the zoning, some areas we do 500 gallons per minute, some areas we'll do 1,500 gallons per minute. Our comprehensive plan runs through all of that math, gets reviewed by Department of Health, gets reviewed by Whatcom County. The storage that we have, about 2.5 million gallons throughout the district, is part of that calculations, and that plan says that we are good.
Another piece of that is operating the fire hydrants themselves.
Right.
And we have heard from you and your staff and our operators that some of the hydrants were a little harder to operate, a little older. Forget the term, Ohio or something, type of hydrants. So last year we started a hydrant replacement project and we hit 25 of them to be replaced. And we're very successful with it, even given all the archaeology issues. This year we have another 25. So we're just gonna pragmatically, methodically go through and update the fire hydrants that need to be. Yep. Yep.
That's great. Thank you for being here.
Holly Hamilton, one of our steering committee members, has a question. He's online. Do you want to unmute yourself and ask?
Hi, so you've been talking fairly extensively about your GIS, the work that you've been developing. We have been too, we've been looking at some study areas. Would there be any willingness to potentially share, if we were to keep that information internal, share your GIS? Because I'm thinking your connections, your service areas, that would certainly help us make some important decisions.
Yeah, I think it's all public information, so we can make that happen.
Thank you.
If you can give me her email.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Any other questions? Doralee, go for it.
Did I hear you say that your best area to expand if you did the sewer and the water would be in the southern part of the district, which would be down where BP is, that area? Well, how close can you go to BP? I'm assuming you're talking Bay Road. Are you talking Grandview that you could come down to?
Grandview would be even cheaper. We don't think that would be accepted.
I picture last night. Lunch with Pam Brady, and she was just all over me about where Birch Bay Water and Sewer was planning to go. And of course, they don't want it close. Except for their service.
Yeah, and I think they've bought up quite a bit of the property up to Bay Road.
Yes.
But having, the church, there's the church there just north of Bay Road. To me, that would be a great thing to get sewer service to.
Oh, they would love
They would love
that.
that.
Oh, my gosh,
Yep.
yes.
And having a big community church as being part of a city and having residents around that, Seems like that could be compatible with BP.
I believe there's a lot of people that agree with that in this room.
Yeah. And this is the map that shows which areas are least expensive, a little bit more expensive out here, and very expensive here. And all the engineering in the map is attached, but this alternative one is the preferred area for growth expansion to happen.
That's as far as finances go.
Finances, correct.
And
Yeah,
that
thanks.
would help the puzzle. I mean, that would help kind of take those holes out, right?
There's some areas like that, kind of wet too, but yeah. You know.
The other thing on that map that I would point out, is the district started researching this about a year and a half ago. Anticipating the county comprehensive plan coming forward, and the buildable lands report made the case that Birch Bay most likely would need to expand or different area. And that's what got us thinking, okay, we're gonna want to put input into Whatcom County so that if they do expand it, it goes to where it works for us. So this started for us a year and a half ago. We meet with Madam Ott, Sandi meets with Madam Ott once a month, and the very first meeting, they talked about expanding on that Birch Point area, and we said, hey, that's really expensive. We haven't heard that lately. City of Blaine might be just now doing their report on what it's gonna cost to provide service for that area, and they may or may not decide that that's a good area.
I think the Northern Light quoted their city administrator saying it's not ideal, so,
Yeah, 20 million.
yeah.
Estimate.
He also says that East Blaine is not ideal.
Well, if there's no other questions, 7:27, we'd like to try to end these things on time. We really appreciate you coming and talking to us. This is amazing information. It's gonna be super useful to us. Thank you for protecting our water rights. For providing us clean water we can drink right out of the tap and not worry about it.
We love our water.
We
And
brought
for taking
leak-
care of our sewage so we can go clamming more often.
Yeah. We brought toilet leak detector tablets and voluntary water schedule for the summer.
Matt, I have a request, this is not on this topic,
Go for it.
but, David Franklin and the Birch Bay Village, Service and Social Club would like to have, representatives from the steering committee come and speak to them and, you know, about what the work we're doing and how it would relate if we incorporate to homeowners associations. And they'd love to see some of the, great flyers that the communications committees.
We've been asking.
We tried to get into the craft thing and got rejected there, so we were on our way to talk to you about what is the best.
Yeah,
Then,
I just
so-
got the request this week and.
Okay,
So
that's
who
cool.
should I work with to make that happen?
Communicate, probably myself or Lisa.
We'll do, we'll set a date.
Perfect, thank
We
you.
keep hitting him up, but that's at the ACC and he doesn't want to hear about it.
Anything else from the steering committee?
Move to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, there we go. Thank you so much for coming, everybody, and good question.